Let's talk to God. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to God. Woo!
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Cutler here in the Let's Talk to Cutler Virtual Book Club, the Let's Talk to Cutler YouTube platform, the Let's Talk to Cutler. Let's spend these 1800 seconds together. And it is the 30th of September. It's the end of the month. We're getting ready to go into another month, and I hope you all are doing well. I hope you've had a great weekend. I hope that your week is off to a good start. Even though it's just Tuesday, I still hope the week is off to a good start for you. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to all those of you who have been with me for a while, those of you who are joining from various parts of the country and wherever you're joining from. I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for inviting me into your space, whatever space you've allowed me to come into. I certainly appreciate that. This evening, we're going to talk about stop being afraid to speak. It's really about stop being afraid of your voice. And I'll get into the impetus of that conversation in just a moment. But as I always do, I want to remind you that if this is your very first time catching me and you're wondering, what is that guy talking about? What is this whole Let's Talk to Cutler piece all about? It is about offering something that's inspirational, something that's motivational, something that challenges us to be our best selves, even in the worst of situations, because we know that life does what life does. People do what people do. Circumstances do what circumstances do. Situations do what circumstances do, and situations do what situations do. But it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we respond in such a way that is consistent with our character, that people don't have to question who we are. So are we the same person behind the scene as we are out in the public? Are we the same people who speak to small groups as when we're seen in front of large groups? Are we the same people in small settings as we are in big crowds? Just you want to make sure that you are true to yourself and that you are consistently you. You want to make sure you respond in such a way that your integrity is intact, and you want to respond in such a way that at the end of the day, you're not embarrassed or you're not ashamed of how you responded. And I think we can practice good responses. I think I need to make a note about that and talk about that one day, how to practice good responses, because we respond sometimes so flippant and so quickly and so impromptu and so spontaneous until by the time we respond, we realize, oops, that's really not what I intended to say. That's not what I wanted to do. That's not how I should have reacted. And we are in control of all of that. I think if we Cutler, don't go off on a tangent just yet. But I think if we considered our actions before we acted, we'd be prone to make sure that we show up our best selves, even in the worst of situations. That's what I want to do. I am sometimes challenged in that regard. And people don't always intend to challenge me. They don't always intend to challenge you. It's just that a lot of times you may get a conversation, you may get a certain line of communication that's not where you were at that particular point, and it catches you off guard. And rather than responding immediately, responding quickly, why don't you just stop and take a break, breathe, exhale, inhale, and then say, let me just process what came at me for just a moment. And if I process it and don't just process it out of my visceral reaction, but I process it by saying, people don't always intend something that's negative or ominous or nefarious. People. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, but that's if everybody doesn't do that. And I'll talk about it in just a moment. But all of those things inhibited my voice as a youngster, trying to determine where people were coming from, trying to determine what people meant, trying to determine their objectives, trying to determine whether or not there were ulterior motives. Those were things that inhibited my voice. And there are voice inhibitors, and maybe I should talk about that. My goodness, I should talk about voice inhibitors in 2025, the things that come to stifle your voice, the things that come to slow your speech and to muffle your sound. Maybe I should talk about all of that, because those things still do exist. Those people still exist. Those circumstances still exist. But this evening, we're going to talk about how to stop being afraid to speak, how to appreciate your voice. But as I often do, I want to say thank you to those of you who are joining me. I will do a shout out of the LTTC VIPs, those who are, I see in the chat room first. I see there's some of you who are online, but you're not over to the chat room. So do me a favor, come on into the chat room. And as you come into the chat room, encourage people to subscribe. And as they like and subscribe, here's one of the things that I want you to do is to make sure you click on the notification bell. Again, I don't know where it is on your particular device. I just don't know. It may be down there, up there, over there, over there. But wherever it is, click on that notification button, because it lets you know whenever I've gone live or uploaded new content. Now, let me just shout out the LTTC VIPs. Don't y'all get mad at me, because these are the first 3 people that I see from my end who just logged into the chat with us this evening. And Annie Cutler says, let's ride. And then there's Bobby Dunmore, who says, hello all. And then there's Sylvia Clemens, who says, good evening, everyone. So good evening to all of you. You all, let's have a conversation. I was thinking earlier, there are times when I enjoy reading, and there are times when I can just sit and read quotes and sayings and words of other people. You see these books behind me, and this doesn't even begin to show all of the books that I have. I have books that are in boxes, books that I've created, that I've collected over the years, from when I was in junior high school, when I was in high school, when I did my undergrad degree, when I did my law degree. So there are books that throughout life, when I've studied at in various areas. So I love reading, and I love knowing what's on the mind of other people. I like to know their thoughts. And it occurs to me that historically, when people had things to say, and you all tell me what you think about this, please join this conversation. I wonder historically, when people had things to say, if they said, oh, I'm going to say this statement because I want to be quoted for 200 years. I want to be quoted for years to come. I just quoted someone, I quoted someone just yesterday, and the quote was, I quoted Thomas Paine, these are the times that try men's soul. That quote has to be going on, it's certainly over 200 years old, but we quote a lot of people. We from JFK to MLK to Eisenhower to FDR, Lenin, Stalin, Confucius, Mother Teresa. We quote so many people. But again, I wonder if, when those people said what they said, if they set out to be quoted for years to come. I wonder if they said, I have something profound, something prolific to say. I doubt that in all instances they said that thing. I doubt that they said, I have a whole lot to say and a little time to say this, so let me just say a whole lot, because the world needs to know what I have to say hundreds of years from now. I don't think that was always the case, unless they decided to put their words, unless they decided to inscribe them and write things down. But what are you saying, Cutler? I'm saying that just as they did not necessarily think that their words would be inscribed and quoted for hundreds of years, but that did not stop them from speaking. I want you to know the same thing. Your words are no less powerful than theirs. Your words are no less impactful than theirs. Your words are no less important than theirs. Just as there is someone waiting to hear their voice, there's somebody waiting to hear your voice. Somebody needs what you have to say. Somebody wants what you have to give, and somebody is waiting for what you have to offer. And so I just want you to be strengthened in that moment. Somebody is waiting to hear your voice. They need what you have to say, and they're waiting to receive what you have to offer. So stop being afraid to speak. There is a voice, there is an ear that is assigned to your voice. And there are ears that are assigned to your voice. And I just don't mean ears to hear, but I mean hearts to receive and people to respond and to react and to do and to be led and to be motivated and to be inspired by what you have to say. There are ears assigned to your voice. And there are some things that only you can say that will move a certain people that nobody else can say. There are people who will not move unless you speak. There are people who will not respond unless you act. I'm telling you, you have to understand there's power in your voice. Your voice is on this earth for an assignment. So why stifle your voice? Why muffle your voice? A lot of times we say things like, oh, well, I don't have anything to say, or I'd rather not say. And that was me for so long because why? I thought I would be ridiculed because of what I had to say. I thought I would be judged because of what I had to say. I thought I would be sometimes castigated because of what I had to say. And I'm telling you this, you all, don't worry about what people might say about your voice. There are people waiting who need to hear your voice. Meanwhile, we are affected by those who, for some reason, are intimidated by you. Maybe people try to stop you from speaking because they are intimidated by you. Maybe people try to stop you from speaking because they are afraid potentially that you could steal the audience that they currently have, which is not their audience. Because if you could steal the audience, it wasn't theirs in the first place. It was always yours, but they were just waiting for you. It amazes me. It amazes me how sometimes in a conversation, people like to overtalk people. Have you ever heard people who like to overtalk people and in the middle of a conversation, they like to assert themselves and they like to overexert their energy just so that they can be heard? And then if you were to whisper or to say something, people say, huh, what did you say? Have you all ever been in situations like that? Or have you ever seen people in situations like that? People who can just wait and let the loud mouths and the big mouths say what they have to say, and then they speak softly and deliberately and intentionally and calmly, and the same audience would then turn to that person who spoke very assuredly and very dogmatically, just very certain about what they had to say. But they didn't have to raise their voice. They didn't have to scream. They didn't have to. They didn't have to yell. They just said what they had to say, and that was it. It's almost like the person who said, I said what I said. So don't be afraid to speak. I remember growing up again. I remember growing up and there were people who would not let my creativity flow. They because I'm telling you, and my family, they joked me. They said, well, you know, when I would go out to I would go out to the clothesline. Yeah, I grew up with the clothesline. I would go out to the clothesline and I would sing and I would preach sermons. And of course, they didn't see anybody that I was singing to, and they didn't see anybody that I was preaching to. They didn't see anybody that I was reciting stuff to. They didn't see anybody that I was having a conversation with. They didn't see that. But for me, that was my escape. That was my way of saying, I have a voice and I want to be heard. And I think about that boy. I wish I could go back in time and speak to that boy and say, you know what? You do have a voice. Don't be afraid to speak. As a matter of fact, one day God is going to give you a platform. And in fact, one day, the same voice that was the same voice that was afraid to speak, not only will you have a platform to speak, but you're going to write books. You're going to walk into classrooms. You're going to walk into churches. You're going to walk into venues. And I wish I could go back in time and speak to that boy and say to that boy, don't be stifled. Don't be afraid to speak. It's okay. Your voice has meaning. Your voice has power. Your voice has clarity. And I want to say this to you. Don't stifle the voice of our children. Just don't do it. Not only don't stifle the voice of our children, don't stifle the voice of our family, of our loved ones, of our friends. People have things to say, and what they have to say matters. I just want to share that because, again, I'm thinking of all of these quotes. We're quoting everybody about everything. And there are probably people around us in our space who are just as prolific as some of the scholars that we read about. There are scholars who don't even have degrees. See, we are so busy looking for the authority because we like the pomp and the circumstance. And so we're looking for authority figures to say, I quoted so and so and so. And it's nice to be able to quote so and so and so. But every now and then you can quote a so and so and so who's in your immediate circle, whose name nobody may not necessarily know. Those are scholars who don't even have degrees. Those are scholars who don't even have audiences. Those are scholars who don't even have websites. Those are scholars who don't even have books. Those are scholars who don't even have a podium or a pulpit, but they're scholars because they have something that contributes to somebody's life. People have things to say. You have a voice that matters. And that's really all I want to remind you of this evening, is that you have a voice that matters. So stop being afraid to speak. Stop being afraid to speak. Cutler, is there a way whereby I can sharpen my ability to speak? Yeah, there are ways that you can do that. And I mean, yeah, you can practice what you have to say and get in a safe space and do what you need to do, and that's fine. But know that you have something to say. And I want you from now on, whenever there's something, an internal voice that would try to stifle and muffle and stop you from speaking, you have to learn how to challenge those negative thoughts that tell you that what you have to say is not valued or valuable, because that is not true. I remember one day I was sitting in a meeting, and I was sitting in this meeting. I'd been sitting in this meeting Thursday after Thursday after Thursday after Thursday, and I was just listening to all the people just go on and how they would just pontificate about all these different things, and they would have to say what they have to say. And sometimes I feel like I was just in the middle of somebody who was just doing just a dramatic monologue or just this soliloquy. I didn't know what some of these people were talking about because they were just talking just to hear themselves talk. Have you ever sat in a space where you realize people are just talking to hear themselves talk? Now that's tinkling brass. Just talking to hear themselves talk. It's almost like somebody in Congress who's given this filibuster to just take up the time and speak 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 and speak, so as to drain people and wear them down. There are some people like that in your lives. But what I want you to understand is that there's a way that you can just reduce the anxiety that causes you not to want to speak. There are things that you can do about that, yes, but you will never even be able to do anything about that until you realize that there is value to what you have to say. Yeah, there's some things that you can do, make sure that you know your topic, you know what you're talking about, and that you can organize your thoughts and all of that. But when you realize that you have value to add to what's going on, I said it before, you are no less important than the birds and the butterflies and the trees and everything else that's here on creation or in creation. You are just as important. I finished the story. I was sitting in that meeting Thursday after Thursday after Thursday and just listening to people talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And what occurred to me is that there were some people who were saying some things that I wanted to say and they had not said it. Been talking for weeks, and there was a simple point that I wanted to make, and I will never forget that. I made the simple point, and I then went back into my reclusive self. And one of the persons in the meeting turned to me and said, that was really something. We need to hear your voice more often. And what I realized in that moment was that you deserve to be at the table. Some of us don't think we deserve to be in spaces where we are. And because we don't think we deserve to be in spaces where we are, we will sit there in silence. But people didn't call you there to be silent. You were not sent there to be silent. But for every space, let me just make sure that I can, I feel convicted and really serious about what I'm getting ready to say. I want you to understand that you were not called to a space to be silent. You were not sent to a space to be silent. You were not assigned to a space to be silent, but you were called, sent, and assigned to a space because you had value added. You had value to add to that space and that time. So don't ever sit in a space in silence and just process the whole time and say, I'm just going to sit here and process that. No, no, no. Somebody needs what you have to say. Now, that is not a license for us to just to go on and on and on and on and on and rambling like a parrot. No, no, no. But that is a license for us to be deputized to know that there is value to my voice. And how dare I go into a space where I've been called or sent or assigned, and I don't offer anything out of the vessel that was sent to that space. Sometimes the space is just in a one-on-one conversation with somebody else. Sometimes the space may be in a 1-on-10 conversation, but there are spaces that sometimes we go in and out of and we don't say anything. And you wonder why your day is challenging. You wonder why your day is boring you. You wonder why your day is just so passe. You wonder why your day is just blah. You wonder why your day is of no effect. You wonder why your day just seemed boring and stifling. And you wonder why your day just seems stagnant and unmoving. A lot of times it is because you did not add to the inertia. You did not add to the power. You didn't add to the catalyst of the day. Your voice could have been a catalyst that caused change. Your voice could have been a catalyst that caused somebody to think. Your voice could have been the catalyst that caused somebody not to do what they were planning to do. Your voice could have been the catalyst to make somebody think deeper than they were thinking. Your voice could have been the catalyst to make somebody say, you know what, I'm going to help somebody. Your voice could be the catalyst for so many things. Catalyst means the things that causes change. Your voice is a catalyst. Your voice has power. Stop being afraid to use your voice. Stop being afraid to speak. Stop allowing people to intimidate you and causing you to think that you don't have anything worth merit to say. I want you to think about all of that. I want you to think about it, and I want you to do something about it. The holidays are coming up, and sometimes what are we going to do? We're just going to cower in a corner. We're just going to sit back and just let the world go by and not have anything to say. But I want you, as you're moving throughout these next months, as we're getting ready for the holidays, I want you to challenge the negative thoughts that tell you that you don't have anything of value. I want you to challenge all of those. I want you to recognize and dispute this fear-driven belief that you have about yourself. So it's based in fear. I'm afraid to speak. I'm afraid that if I say something, they're going to count. I'm afraid that if I do a lot of things, we don't speak because we are afraid. It holds you back. It keeps you from moving. It stifles you. And so those thoughts that would stifle you, I want you to replace those negative thoughts with positive thoughts. And a positive thought is somebody needs what I have to say. If nobody else has told you that, Cutler is telling you today, somebody needs what you have to say. And as you focus on the fact that somebody needs what you have to say, and you learn how to challenge those negative thoughts that would cause you to muffle your voice, I want you to understand this. A lot of times, not only is there value in what you have to say, and you have to challenge those negative thoughts, but you have to focus on the audience, focus on the fact that there are people here. So you shift your thoughts from internally thinking about you and think about other people. A lot of times we don't speak because we're so concerned about how I feel. How am I going to navigate this moment? How am I going to feel? I mean, at the end of the day, how will I be able to put my head on the pillow? And so we have all of these self-centered thoughts. But could you think for just one moment? Let me stop thinking about me. Let me stop thinking about my fear. Let me stop thinking about my fear, because perhaps thinking about my fear, if I stopped thinking about my fear and thought about what somebody else needs, just maybe, if I stop thinking about my fear, I can help somebody not. If I stopped thinking about my fear, maybe somebody wouldn't take their life because of my voice. Maybe somebody would not engage in self-destructive behavior because of my voice. Maybe somebody's life could be rerouted because of my voice. Maybe somebody's maybe somebody could have dreams because of my voice. Maybe somebody could have hopes because of my voice. I just want to encourage you all to stop allowing your fear to stop you from speaking. I will never forget, never forget. And it gives me chills in this moment to recall a young lady who said to me, I tuned in to the broadcast, and I'm so glad I tuned in to your broadcast. And this was a couple years ago. And she said, you have no idea how your voice has helped me. She said, it was because of your voice, Cutler, I didn't take my life. And can I tell you how many days I had thought about just saying, I can do so many other things. But there's something that resides in me that says, until the day you close your eyes, don't forget that there's power in your voice. Don't forget that there's impact behind your words. And I want to say that to you. Don't forget that there is power in your voice. There's impact in your words. Be careful how you use them. We sometimes just go out and frivolously use our voice and our words. And we forget the damage that we can do. We forget the damage that we can do, and we forget the life that we can give. I want to challenge you, and I want to challenge you in your thinking. I want you to know that over the next few months, this is my hope, prayer, ambition, and desire, that you will meet somebody, that you will have an encounter, you will run into someone, and you will engage in a conversation, and you will be strategic and careful in that conversation, because you will realize that there's a calling in your voice. It is my hope, my wish, my desire, my prayer that over the next few months, we all can have an encounter like that, an encounter that reminds us that there is purpose for my living and breathing. There's purpose for my seeing and moving and being and functioning. And not only that, but there's purpose and life in my voice. I just wanted to share that, you all. Be encouraged, be motivated, be inspired, but be challenged. Be challenged not to sit on your voice any longer, not to stifle your voice any longer. Do me a favor. Let's keep doing what we're doing, you all. Let's keep building a community, maintaining connectivity. Keep your heads up, keep your hopes up. Know from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. Until the next time we chit chat, tell somebody, wow, come on, let's talk to Cutler. The man is just trying to help save somebody's life. Until the next time we talk, have a good evening.